Welcome to our yoga day. Grab some blocks, blanket, strap, anything that might be extra for your comfort and for your abilities to be able to reach the ground or bring the ground up to you would be great. I'm going to start in this kind of modified hero pose, sitting, or thunderbolt, we might call it. But you can choose whichever you like. We will be on the knees some today. I've got the blanket stacked up here. Now you could do that under your knees, but you can also place it closer back by your feet, and that actually will give you a little less pressure on the knees. So you don't have to have the thing that you're using directly under the space that you're needing. It's kind of the way the body works. So you can do that if it feels better to you, or you could even place it behind your sit bones, between your heels and your sit bones, and stack something up there. I have the option also to take a block and sit on the block. So if I were to bring that back a little between the heels and then bring the knees closer together, that'll give me a lot of comfort, and I can support the sit bones up a little higher. Plus, you can take your feet on this blanket, as I've got back here. I'll show you. So you can take the feet up on the blanket, and that gives them some cushion. So maybe this all will allow you to sit more comfortably as we work on stretching out the front of the legs. This is something we don't do a lot because a lot of times people have issues with their knees or something, and they just find that not to be comfortable without knowing how to give themselves the support that's needed to find the comfort. So just put yourself in a space that you feel good about. And as you come into that space, we'll lift the shoulders, let them relax back and down. Hands just resting on the thighs. And take a moment to close the eyes. I want you to bring your awareness into the present, into the space that you're in, starting to find awareness of your body and your breath. Maybe you were doing a lot of things before this practice and just now sitting down. And you can still feel your heart kind of beating quickly as you are getting your activities finished, to take this moment for yourself. So as you start to check in, find that space between the ribs and the hips, and see if you can expand with your breath all the way around 360. So not just to the front of the body, but out to the sides and to the back. Let the breath grow each time you inhale, softly letting out the exhale, the tongue away from the teeth, finding space in the back of the throat and in the jaw. So checking in with the space that's around the eyes, and this is a good thing to do throughout your day. This is a place where we will hold tension without realizing it. So if you'll check in between the eyebrows and the spaces around the eye sockets, and see if you find, if you're holding any tension there, that you could release just by softening. Imagine that the eyes could kind of float a little further apart. The eyeballs themselves could sink deeper into the sockets. Finding this lightness that's right in the center of the forehead. And then a lightness in the crown of the head, as though it's being drawn up like a magnet to the sky. You feel light behind the neck, feeling long, lifted. Checking down around the pelvic space, and then notice if your hips are kind of gently rocking forward or back, and see if you can just align them so that they're just neutral, so that your hip points are just pointing straight ahead rather than rocking down or rocking up. And you find your tail becoming heavy, pressing beneath you. Checking back in with your breath, allowing the breath to fill up all the way from your pubic bone up to the sternum, and even in between your shoulder blades, across the back. Finding that softness through the throat, the jaw, and the neck. By allowing the tongue to fall from the teeth, we just create this natural softness of the back of the throat that would create a nice gentle rumbling sound. So we're not forcing any kind of sound in the throat, but it's just because of the softness, because of the relaxed sensation that you have here. It might sound like a soft breeze or an ocean wave. Taking 3 more rounds of breath, and with each of these rounds of breath, see if you could find a moment of gratitude to apply to that breath. As you start to bring more awareness back into your physical body and just kind of shake out the fingers, shake out the hands, begin to open the eyes if they were closed, circle the wrists a few times, and then lifting the shoulders up and pulling back, opening up through the chest, starting to activate the upper back space. Inhale, lifting, and exhale back. 2 more here, continuing to keep your ribs drawn down as you pull the shoulders back, so there's that opposition there. So we don't want to hinge through that mid-back space, just rolling the shoulders. And then relax as they come back down to the sides. We will lift up on the knees here, so make any adjustments that are necessary for you. I'm going to send myself back just a little bit and take my blanket forward, unfolding it a bit. But you can do whatever feels right. You could also do this in a seated position from a chair or even standing, depending on how it feels better for you. Let's take blocks over here to the sides. We don't necessarily have to have the blocks, but I'd like for you to have the option, just having them there available. So as you sit tall or stand tall here, we're going to keep the tail down a bit, so keeping your pelvic bowl kind of lifted up a little bit and letting your tail drop. So not a big tuck, but just neutral there. So inhale, taking your left arm, reaching it up. Let your right hand either slide down the leg, or you could rest it gently on a block next to you. I want you to get really long on that left side. Keep the tailbone dropping down a bit. Breathe into the left side waist. Continue to exhale and reach. We're not trying to shift the whole body, just from your waist over. And then bring it back to center. So anchoring down through your right knee as you lift the right arm up. Deep breath in. Make sure that the tail is slightly drawn down, and you're going to keep this nice long line all down the sideways. So you can just let your hands slide down or be supported somewhere over to the side. I just like for it to not to be something that you have to reach too far for. So you can bring it right in towards your side. Take another breath. Notice if you're feeling discomfort of your low back. This may be an indication that your tail is rising behind you. Kind of shift your hips gently forward and up. Take that last breath and come back to center. We'll do that again. Lifting left arm up. Inhale. Exhale. Coming over. Hand toward the floor or to your block right beside you. So I want you to think about lifting up rather than leaning over. Lift up. Get long. Want to create space down that side waist. Down through the low back even as you're reaching. And coming up, inhale. Begin to slowly exhale and reach. Again, feel like you're lifting upward more than you're leaning to the side. So we're using the core here to stabilize, but also stretching. So we're stretching on one side, stabilizing with the other. Let's come back to center and take a little pause. So you could make sure you're pointing to the top of your mat here. I'm going to turn so that I am. And once again, if you have a strap or something that you want to hold on to, or a little towel of some sort, if your hands don't easily go behind the back, I would suggest taking this behind the back first. Okay, and holding here, and you'll turn your palms toward each other. So if you need to kind of wrap that in just a little bit, you can. Otherwise, you could interlace the fingers behind you and then pull the shoulders up, back, and down. So once again, you're going to drop the tail just a little bit first, And then put a softness in your elbows. Now see if you can kind of squeeze your elbows toward each other. From there, just kind of kick the knuckles towards your feet. So we're not trying to lock it out. We don't want to do that. I want you to squeeze the elbows in that bent position and then maybe take your knuckles a little further behind you. As you're lifting up through the chest, the chin stays gently down. The neck is long. We're just gazing up to where the wall meets the ceiling. Take another breath in. And then exhale it out. Squeeze that space up there in between the shoulder blades. Continue trying to bring your elbows closer together. Take one more breath here. And then we'll just gently release the hands. Let the hips sit back toward the heels, walking your hands forward for a moment. Stretching out into a nice long extended child's pose. So from your child's pose, reach the fingers up about as far as they'll go, and then plug in your fingertips to the floor as you lift the palm up. So you're just making like a little claw, like a palm a basketball, like you're gonna put your hand all the way around a basketball. Okay, so as you're holding your palms up, just plugging in the fingertips to the floor, let the head fall, and then see if you can kind of wrap your triceps around. So biceps, the front of your arm, rolling up to the sky, lifting up through the arms, letting your head fall. Big deep breath in. You feel your ribs opening and expanding next to your thighs. And then from here, walk your hands back. So you may very well still be on your blanket. That's perfectly fine. So I'm going to walk up on it a little. Okay, so your head is all the way down to the mat. We're going to take hold of the heels with your hands. As you hold on to the heels with your hands, pull the shoulders back a little bit and start to roll up just to the top of your head, never back behind the crown. So you're in front of the crown of your head, lifting up away just slightly off of your forehead. And I want you to pull on your heels and see if you could pull your shoulder blades apart a little more. Make sure your chin is just softly tucked under. You should feel a nice stretch across the upper back. We'll release the hips down. We'll take another variation. You could go back into this variation for rabbit or take the hands behind the back. I'm going to show you real quick. If you take your thumbs right here at your top of your, right there at the top of your ears, bring your middle fingers to the top, and where they land right across the top, that should be about the crown of your head, the fontanelle spot of a baby, right? Plug it in, push into it, make sure you don't go past it, okay? I want you to have that imprint right there, feel it, okay? Plug it in. Now, we can do the same thing here, hands right there on your heels, or taking the hands behind you as we are in that child's pose. We're gonna roll up a little higher if your hands are behind you. Okay, so if your hands are clasped, we're gonna lower down, take those hands to the back of, or interlace behind you. Start to roll up, not going past that spot of the crown of your head, and then lift your arms up behind you. So you could stay lower with your hands on your heels, or come up higher, just making sure that you're not tucking your chin more than neutral. So we're keeping the neck pretty neutral here. Let's continue taking about 3 more rounds of breath wherever you are. Last 2. And last full breath here. Release the hands down. Let yourself rock back into child's pose with your arms by your sides. Bringing hands right beside your knees and rolling yourself up again. And as you're seated on the knees, once again, you could be down with hips to heels or standing up if that feels better for you, or in any other variation. So seated on a chair or standing on the floor. Okay, so I want you to take your left hand, rock the thumb down so your palm is facing behind you. Sweep it back as close as you can. So don't even worry about bending your elbow. Just sweep it back and hold it right there. Then bend your elbow, see if those fingers land somewhere to the other side. You can hold onto the bicep or the crease of this arm here and just pull it up. Okay? So this is the first variation. Okay, so you can hold right there. Tail is softly down again, you're neutral. So as you pull this arm forward just a little bit, it's going to pull that shoulder back without turning the body. We're stretching through the front of the left shoulder. Another variation would be to take your hands together, interlace your palms, and then just pull that right elbow back as you gently draw the left arm further behind you. So find which one works better for you, and then we'll turn and look over to the left side, or excuse me, to your right side. So away from the arm that's behind you. So you should feel a pretty good stretch there, running down through the left side of your neck, toward the left collarbone or clavicle, maybe even in various other places. And we'll come back to center. Let your head now fall over to the right. And feel the stretch there on the left side. Taking 2 more rounds of breath. And then coming back up, we'll switch sides. So just release, shake it out if you had your arms kind of clasped back there. All right, taking that other arm, so right arm, dropping thumb down, sweep it back in as close as you can, and then bend the elbow. See if it comes somewhere to the other side. You can take hold of the left arm, just bringing your arm up like you're doing a bicep curl. Okay. Pull it back behind you, but don't yank or drag it in there if it's painful, so just go to where you can. Your other variation is to interlace the fingers and kind of pull with a little bit of leverage, pull that left elbow back and gently draw the right arm behind you. Okay, so turning to look over to the left, keeping your shoulders nice and steady. Once again, if it bothers your knees at all, come to a space that's not bothering your knees. So whether that's seated down or standing up. So just modify accordingly. And we'll come back to center, nose to center. Let the head fall to the left. Checking in with your low back. This is a nice opportunity with your arm behind you to kind of put a little bit of pressure from your arm toward your sacral space or the low back space just to give it a little support. Taking that last breath in, and coming back up to center, and releasing, shake it out. And roll those, rest a few times. Let's take the arms forward, lift up, pull back, open up. Deep breath in. Exhale, rock it back. One more time, big sweep, lifting up, rolling back. Very nice. Okay, shake that out a little bit. So we're going to come back over so that you're making sure you're facing to the front of your mat, reaching your hands forward, and then dropping your hips back, stretching into a big child's pose. If you've got your blocks, I'd like you to take them to the top of your mat. Always keep a strap nearby just in case. Okay. So as you're reaching forward, coming up, and then when you're ready, turning your toes under and sending your hips up and back into your down dog. Shifting back, pedaling out through your heels. Continue to keep the belly kind of slightly drawn in and up. We don't have to create a big force there, but just a little bit of lift so that your rib cage is pulling in rather than splaying open. And then take a pause. Let's come back to the knees. And send the right foot forward. So this is an opportunity, if you have your blocks, that you could take them first and then place that right foot at the top, however you like to get there. Okay. So if you find it a little challenging to get that leg up there, use your blocks first. Turn the toes under on the back leg, lifting the knee, and then lifting the hips up high, but without quite going all the way up. So we're not shifting the hips back, we're just lifting them up, and then drop the hips back down. Watching your front knee, not really going past your heel much. Okay, you could go slightly ahead, but we don't really want it past the toes, right? So since we've got that back knee up, I don't want to get too much torque in that knee. So lift up and then drop it down. And now with your next one, lift up and start to walk your blocks back. You could always shift your back foot forward a little. We're going to walk those blocks back and now shift the hips up and back, straightening your front leg as much as you can. So take as little or as much space as you'd like. You can place that other foot quite a bit further up if you need to. Okay, so that's a definite option there. So take it to where you need for you. See how it feels. As you gently come forward, I want you to see if you can kick the right foot up onto the heel. So we're going to flex that foot up. Getting a deeper stretch down through the calf. A deep breath in, and if you'd like to go any deeper, feel free to fall forward or stay lifted up as high as you like. Taking 2 more rounds of breath. Try to bring that left hip forward with you so that it's not kind of lifting up and back. Both your hips are square. And then go ahead and bend that right knee. We're going to just pivot around to the inside. So start walking around to the left side, so the place that's going to be the easiest for you to turn. So we're walking, so now your toes spin to the long side of your mat. We're in a big wide leg stance. Just even out the legs. So if one leg was a little behind the other going this direction, go ahead and even them out. And then folding forward into wide leg, standing forward bend. Hands on blocks or down to the floor, whichever is more accessible to you. You could even have your hands up on a piece of furniture or a wall. Try to gently rock yourself forward towards your toes, but keeping your heels planted. One more breath here. And starting to lift the head and the chest. If you've got those blocks, we'll take them and then walk back around to the right, spinning yourself around, dropping your left knee down. So as the left knee drops down, we'll lift up through the chest, bringing your left arm forward, and we're going to cross it over the front body. Just a nice straight arm crossing over to the front body, and grab that with your right. I'm just going to turn this way to show you. So we're going to grab that with your right arm. Okay, pull it in. Stretching across the back of your shoulder and across the top. Continue trying to draw the left arm over to the right as you pull the left shoulder blade back a little bit. Get those 2 oppositions going again. So one of the first things I ever learned in yoga, or really stuck with me, was just the union of opposites. We're always working with the unions of opposites. And so we're going one direction, but we're pulling back in the opposite direction. We go forward, but we push back. You know, we're always working with opposites, and it's kind of that way off the mat as well. So bring it back around, shake it out a little, and then we'll just set those blocks off to the side, or you can use them to get your right leg back. We'll send the right leg all the way back again. Now shifting back into little puppy. So we're just going to keep those hips right over the knees and walk your hands forward, sliding your head down. Just like down dog, but you're on your knees. And head's going to be a little closer than it would be in down dog, most likely. Let's take 2 more rounds of breath. Once again, see if you can roll your biceps up towards your ears and toward the sky. Deepening the armpit a bit. Starting to lift your head up, walk the hands back just a little bit so they're back slightly ahead of your shoulders, turning the toes under, lifting up, pressing back into down dog. Pedal out through the heels. And then bring it back down. And pausing here. You can stay here. I'm going to spin just so that I'll be able to see better and you can see me. So now we'll take the left foot forward, making sure that you're ready by either taking the blocks or coming up to your fingertips and sending that left leg forward. Make your adjustments by scooting the right knee back a bit. Okay. So from here, inhale, and then turn the toes under. Exhale, lift, straighten out the back leg. From there, inhale, and as you exhale, gently lift the hips up high without shifting back. So just lift up and then lower down. So if you find that you're still kind of uncomfortable in this position, you could always take something higher, maybe a chair that you could put your hands on or something that's a little higher. Just lift up the hips and gently lower them down. So last one, Inhale, as you exhale, lift, and now shift it back, moving your back heel closer to the floor. Feel free to hop that foot in as close as you need to. As you're kind of feeling like you're going to squeeze your inner thighs toward each other, that's going to level out your hips a bit more so that right hip is coming forward with you. If you are reaching and struggling to reach forward with your arms, bring them back. Start to check in with how you feel always so that you can make adjustments to how you're feeling. So if it's a struggle, we're trying to eliminate the struggle. You don't need to struggle. So go to where it feels right for you. Let the head fall if you like. And then bring the toes up, the whole ball of the foot up, kicking back onto the left heel. If that feels quite intense, lift your chest up higher. Even almost into a standing position is fine. Let's take 3 more rounds of breath. If you're finding that your right hip is kind of flowing, kind of lifting up more, I want you to bring it down with every exhale. Taking last full breath here. As you start to drop your toes back to the floor, if you moved your back leg, step it back again, and then drop that knee down. So now we're back into that low crescent lunge. Lifting your chest up, so I'm going to also bring my hips back a little bit so I don't overextend in the back. Taking your right arm and just bring it across nice and straight as far as you can, and then help it with the crook of the opposite arm, the elbow crease. So at that point, the shoulder might lift up. You might look something like this. So try to drop the shoulder down. And as you're drawing the arm over, then pull the shoulder back just a little. Once again, finding the union of opposites there. They're working together. Lifting the hip points up slightly. 2 more rounds of breath. And then release that side. Shake it out. Take your blocks. Lift the back knee. We're going to walk around again to the inside. So spinning around now to your right side. And you'll end up with both of your feet pointing forward to the long edge of your mat. Lower yourself down. That could be on blocks, hands, or elbows, or whatever you might need to hold on to there. If you're feeling like you'd like to have a little extra chest opening here, we can take the hands behind, interlace, or grab a strap. Now notice if you interlace your fingers, if you tend to always take your dominant hand on top. So for me, that would be my right hand. My right index finger is always on the top. My right thumb is always on top. So I'm going to switch that. It's going to feel funny. But see if you can switch whichever hand is on top, and then try to pull back. It might feel like it's somebody else's hand completely. Take what you can use, leave the rest. So if this does not feel right for you, don't do it. It's okay. Just go to a variation that feels like you could get the most benefit. And we'll take 1 more breath. And then bring it back down. Placing hands to the blocks or the floor, and we'll walk it back around. Spinning all the way, dropping your back knee. And then landing your left knee back to meet the right. So you're in more of a table position. And then walking your hands forward back into that little puppy. Two more rounds of breath here. Try to draw the rib cage up just a bit so you're not splaying open in the front body. Lifting the head up, starting to walk back. So hands are underneath the shoulders. We're going to send the right leg back, toes turned under, and then rolling onto your left side. Keep your left foot right where it is. You could turn the toes under if you like. We're just going to spin the right heel to the floor. Okay, so now the right toes are pointing out and lift. So a little variation of something like a side plank, but it shouldn't be as awful on the balance as we might be if we had our hip way down. So right now my hip is right over that knee. And I've got a little triangle happening with the legs. Good. Take your right arm, reach it over the head, keeping your hips gently pressing forward. And then bring it back to center. Sweep the arm down. We're going to do that to the other side. I'm just going to stay right here. You can see from the back side where we are. Okay, so turning the toes under on the right foot for a little more support. Take your left foot straight back. And now just spin the left heel to the floor and then follow that by rotating the upper body. So that left foot is planted and you've got some support there. Take the left arm, reach it over the head. And then bring it back around. Spin yourself all the way down. Knees go to the floor, sitting back in the child's pose. Just take a nice little quick stretch back. And then we'll come up. As you come up, coming to seated. So when I come to seated, I'm going to go ahead and take that blanket, fold it back up a little bit so that I can sit on the other side of it. You just give me a little lift. You can lift this up as much as you need to or like to. Even a bolster would be appropriate here. So as you take the legs out, your left leg straight, right knee bent. We'll take the right hand behind. Put a little softness in the elbow, but pull the shoulder back so that everything is engaged and ready. We sweep the right arm up. See if you can lift your hips up and just put a little weight on that front knee, front heel. Pull the shoulder blade into your back so you're not hanging out in the shoulder joint. And then bring it back down. Sweep over, right arm over, just leaning into the side. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lift the hips. And we'll do that again. So keeping your chest turned towards your front knee and just reach over to the side. Take that one more time. Inhale. Exhale, lift. Inhale, coming down. Exhale and reach. Come all the way up. We'll switch sides. So bringing your left leg in, right leg out. Once again, sit up as high as you need to with your hips here. So we'll take that left hand behind. So same side that the knees bent. Lifting the arm up and lift the hips. Just shoot the hips up and forward, tucking your tail just a little. And then bring it down. Let that hand just swing over to the inside of the leg. Foot is flexed. Your chest still turning towards your front knee. Good. Back to center. Inhale. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, circle that arm down. Let that lead you right into your side bend. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, reach. Last time. Side bend here. Reaching. And come all the way back up to seated. Now keep that, whatever you've got up behind you, under your sit bones. Take both legs out as wide as you comfortably can. I want you to come to the edge of whatever you've got. So I'm actually even going to roll mine up just a little bit more, or you could use a bolster here. So I'm going to lift up a little bit higher because I like that. I'm going to roll to the edge of that prop. Okay, so legs are out nice and wide. Toes pull back. You do not have to push straight out through your heels. Just keep a little softness behind your knees. Coming forward. If you like to grab your bolsters or blocks or anything in front of you, you can take that here. Feel free to just let yourself gently come forward. Rounding is fine. Okay. If you can allow yourself to come forward with more of a straight back to begin, that would be another option. So take what you can again and leave the rest behind. Just go as far as you comfortably can. But again, comfort is relative, so it's okay to be in a little discomfort because we're going to find the comfort of the discomfort, meaning we're going to find the ease and the dis-ease. So just allow yourself for a moment to stay there. That's what we practice on the mat is what we take off the mat, and oftentimes when things are uncomfortable, or uneasy, we tend to bolt pretty quickly rather than moving through it. And oftentimes we have to move through something to get to the other side and to find that progress. Progress is not through pain. Progress is just consistency over time. We're not looking for pain here. Just being consistent. Walk yourself up when you're ready. So as we come to seated again, bring one leg in, the other leg in front or on top, sitting up tall, turning to the right, taking your right hand behind, left hand crossing. Back around to center to the other side. Let's just stay here for a moment. If you prefer to lie down, feel free to do so. Once again, make it yours. So if you'd like to lie down, feel free to take that opportunity. Otherwise, we'll sit here silently for a few moments as you just allow yourself to kind of end where you began. Checking back in, noticing how you're feeling. Check out your breath and your heart rate. You may even find that observation from when you first arrived here. If it feels different, if the heart rate feels more consistent, maybe it's a little slower. Maybe your breath moves in and out easier. Feeling a lightness through the crown of the head, a heaviness through the tail and the sit bones. A softness that washes across the face. As you allow the last few moments here, go back to those gratitudes that you applied in the beginning of your practice. For the next few rounds of breath, just reinforcing these gratitudes, or appreciation, moments of appreciation for whatever it may be today. Finding an appreciation for your abilities, your movements, your body, and your breath. And as we sweep the arms overhead, letting the palms meet right over the crown, let the arms come down, hands to center, just bowing at your heart space. As we take another opportunity here to find appreciation for having this practice together. So whether we're in person or not, we're still practicing in the same general space with each other. So thanks for showing up. Namaste.